Alright guys, I came outside. Welcome back to House Prep. My name is Jerry. So before everybody gets upset about the thumbnail on there, let me just explain that. I did get some messages, and I do from time to time, but they start to ask, is it the prepper's fault that there's food issues, food shortages, when there's runs on food? There are people that question that. Now, sometimes you get the ones that do it, they're just there to drop a bomb and leave. I call them trolls. But from time to time, you do get somebody who that's seriously what they consider. That's what they believe, and they're not being ugly by when they're kind of asking the opinion or asking the question. They're sincerely just trying to find out what maybe others might think, or could that possibly be the problem? That's kind of where they're leaning. So when you start looking at shortages, I want to start back with maybe some of my past history, where I came from, what kind of got me into prepping to begin with. I remember as a young boy, my mom used to always prep to a certain level. We never had a lot of money growing up, so she couldn't do the vast amounts of, pantries and closets just full of supplies, but she always had backups to things. When times got tough, when, with 3 growing boys in the house, when we needed to, we always had plenty of food, and there was always stuff to have. So she, or her, and my father always made sure that we were taken care of, that they had prepared for when events in life took place. So speeding forward just a little bit, growing up in Florida and spending some time in there, you realize quickly there's a hurricane season. You do go through your first hurricane season, and you realize that if you wait till the storm is at 1 or 2 days away from hitting your area and then you go to the stores, it's too late. You don't find any batteries. Batteries are gone. Plywood is gone. If you want to board up your windows, it's too late. If you've waited to that long, it's gone. There's none there. If you go and you wanted to buy milk and bread, it's gone. It's too late. If you hadn't already bought it, it's gone. There's certain prep items and certain items that off and on would be gone. Bottled waters, the big jugs of water, the big containers of water, everything's gone off the shelf. You see people scrambling through stores. You're there the day before a big hurricane's getting ready to hit, and all supplies are gone. You look for the propane tanks, so people would be able to still heat things up on a camping grill, or the big propane tanks for their grills. Everything's gone. I've experienced that. I've been through that. I've seen that happen. So I remember asking the question that I can kind of go back and put this question into that scenario. For that scenario, was it the preppers' faults? Maybe the tens of thousands of preppers that lived in those areas. Is it their fault that none of those supplies were there? Or could it have been all the people that had not prepared at all, and when the hurricane was approaching, they panic bought, and they went out and they bought the big flats of cans, and they went out and got all the propane tanks and all the toilet paper and the milk and the bread and all the water and all the supplies and the nails and the screws and the plywood and everything that they used during a hurricane. Could that have been the problem? Well, I found out real quickly that it wasn't the preppers' fault that all those things disappeared off the shelves. It wasn't the hoarders, the people that want to label them as a hoarder. It wasn't their fault. Those people already had all those supplies. There was no need for them to go buy more plywood. They already had plywood, already cut and sized for every single one of their windows and properly marked, so they knew right which piece of plywood went with what window. They already had the screw holes in place. The people who prepared already had those things. They weren't the ones who went out and cleared the shelves of plywood. For the water's sake, was it the prepper's fault that all of a sudden, in a day's notice, all the water disappeared? No, it was the people that panic bought that went out and loaded their grocery carts full of water supplies because they had none. And I could sit here, we could talk about that with every single item that I experienced. Batteries was a huge thing because people wanted batteries for the power outages. Was it the prepper's fault that every single battery was gone off the shelf? I'm talking about convenience stores, gas stations, big box stores. batteries were gone. You couldn't find a battery, or let alone a flashlight. So was it the preppers' fault? No, the preppers already had flashlights. They already had batteries. They already had propane lanterns. They already had oil lamps. They already had these things. Now, do preppers go out in a time and top off their preps? Absolutely, but they're just topping off. Case in point, when I became better prepared, and I realized very quickly how the game's played, that if you wait to the last minute, it's too late. I became more of a prepper, and I started preparing for the events in life that take place. And I realized, wow, when the hurricane's coming, what do we need? I don't even need a grocery cart. I go through, I grab 1 loaf of bread for a backup. I grab 1 gallon of milk for a backup. And maybe, an extra little thing of Diet Pepsis, right? And a little pack of double stuffed Oreos. And I'm set. I got my hurricane supplies because I've already prepared. You start seeing the blank looks of people with their grocery carts rolling through the stores and looking for last minute things to throw in their cart, just grabbing anything that they can at this point because all the things they wanted are gone. So that's the events. Those are the types of people that I personally blame for why shelves run out of items and things. Now, with this past year, we have kind of been in an ongoing, non-stop problems because of last year's shutdowns, and because a lot of people have not returned back to work, which affects factories, which packing, shipping, deliveries, unloading, restocking, all these things. I don't think that's the preppers' fault. I think we're into an economy issue right now, and some repercussions of a lot of decisions that were made this past year that we're now living through that. So that was one example. But we can talk about many examples, and a lot of you out here, as subscribers and people that visit the House of Prep family here, that you'll pop in and say, hey, I prepped and I was thankful I did. Somebody in my household lost their job. And for 5 or 6 months, we relied on our preps. It was like a savings account. So, wow, what would they have done without those preps? Now, we could sit here and look about tornadoes if you live in different parts of the country. Ice storms, which we've seen that experience this year. Even now that I live in Tennessee, I live here just outside of Nashville, and we experienced a lot of snow this past year and such. Well, same thing goes at the stores. You go to the store during a big oncoming snowstorm. A lot of the aforementioned items, a lot of those items were gone off the shelves as well. So I didn't sit back and think, well, man, this is the work of the preppers. The preppers did this. No, I sat back and said, this is the work of the unprepared. What the preppers actually do in these scenarios is preppers take off the burden of these situations. Because the example of me with Florida and hurricane season, or the example in Tennessee with the ice storms and the snowstorms, because preppers don't have to run to the store and buy up a cartload of stuff, we have now left items for other people that did not prepare because we already have those items. So if anything, preparing adds to the solution of a crisis. We add to fixing the problem of running out of food, of running out of toilet paper that we saw. I didn't see people that I knew that prepped, or myself as a prepper, we weren't the ones going out getting cartloads and truckloads of toilet paper. They were the people that were panicking and thinking that was the thing to do and that's what we needed, and they didn't know what else to do. So quick, to the store, let's load up on toilet paper. They don't know what to do. They're not preppers. They're not prepared. That's the sake of being prepared, is being ready for any event that hits life. What about with all the different grid downs and the cyber attacks and companies that are facing issues daily, fighting battles for people trying to take out things in our country daily? Is that part of the problem? I had somebody leave a message the other day on one of the videos. They just said, well, Americans have lost their minds, referring to our prepping and our prepping channels and things like that. And, I could see how some people may think that. But in the case and point of what I just explained, when these scenarios happen, none of the ones that have prepared are panicking. Nobody's going through the stores with that ghostly look on their face and wondering, well, what do we buy? Everything that we came here for is already gone. It's off the shelf. It was interesting this past year. It was nice to take one of our sons. My wife and I had to go to the store, and he went with us. And we were during one of those times where everybody was at the store buying up everything. and some of the comments he made, seeing it firsthand. It's one thing to hear stories about it, but when you see it, when you've lived it, when you're going through it, and you watch people, and you watch their body language, you watch what they're doing, and you notice that there's a panic in the air. Don't be a part of that. And as preppers, I know sometimes we still get a bad rap. Again, I've been very fortunate on my channel. Mine are very tasteful, very respectful, it seems like. I don't get the sense that people are being ugly, but maybe they just don't understand. And when you've kind of lived through some of the things and you've watched some of those things, you know, the potential is out there to be without. Now, another reason to prep is out of love. It's not just because you want to just go around and hoard things. You're doing it out of love because you love your family. I used to envision what it would be like for my children to come and ask me for something to eat, and I didn't have anything to give them. You know, would I just cop out and say, well, you know, son, daughter, you know, well, if the government would step up and do their part, you would have something to eat, but you know what? It's all their fault. It's all the government's fault. You know, you can't do that as a parent. As a parent, you need to take responsibility of your role. It's your responsibility to take care of your children. It's not the government. It's not the local this or the local charities. No, it's the mom and dad's responsibility to find a way. And I know there's obstacles. We talked about some obstacles on our live stream Friday night. Some folks that say, hey, I'm 70 years old. I live on a fixed income. I don't know how to prepare. I don't have extra money. Floods of information of ideas and support groups and places that you could go for help and for some ways to get some extra items started flooding the live stream. And if you haven't watched Friday night's live stream, go back and watch it and read the comments. There's all kinds of information on there. And what a great opportunity for somebody to learn, even at the age of 70, that it's never too late to be a little prepared for an event that takes place in life. Because ultimately, whose responsibility is it? It lands on us. It lands on you. It lands on me to be able to ones to take care of our family. So it's not about pointing fingers. It's not about going out and let's take food away from everybody else in the world so we have it all and they have none. That's not what it's about. Trust me, people who manufacture goods over all these years, we have people that are on here, they've been preparing for 20 years. What does that mean? That they have gone out and they've rented warehouses so they can stack up warehouses full of their preps? No, they've been in the habit of rotating, of continually buying, and at some point you develop a large amount of preps and items and food items, but now you're in the sense all you're doing is maintaining at that point. If you already have your year or your 2 years of supplies, well, at some point you have to use them or they're going to go bad. They're going to get old. You don't want to be wasteful. You don't want to throw money away. So a lot of people that are considered preppers and that have been doing it for a long time, it's methodical. It's something every week that, trust me, manufacturers have already figured out who's buying things, and they're in it for make money. If they see people buying more items and more food and more canned goods and more supplies, they up their supply up. They hire more people. They bring in more machines. They do what they have to do because they want to make more money. And they're thankful that people are buying up more items. In fact, you could almost say that preppers help keep the economy going by buying more things. They're buying more prep supplies, items that they can use. Preppers are spending money into buying these items, and though they are looking for sales and looking for deals, become very savvy in doing so, but they help keep the economy going. As for the person who just maybe buys nothing and just buys it only when they need it. So manufacturers will adjust, I promise you. They want to make money. They'll find a way to up their production to meet whatever the demand is. But again, it's that last minute rushing to the store panic. That's the cause of shelves being cleared bone dry. And that's where we're trying to avoid. So then the questions are like, if you're a prepper and like, Jerry, you're putting your face out there on YouTube. What about the powers to be and the leaderships? You kind of put yourself out there where you become a target. Prepping. Well, hopefully that never gets to that point, because the more people that we reach, the more people that become preppers, there'll be a less panic of people now looking to find the prepper stashes, right, or to raid and take from other people. And I think if it gets to that point, they're not going to care who you are. they're going to raid everybody, and I'm just another number. I'm just another blip on the screen that people would want to come and raid. They don't care if I have or don't have. I'm just going to be in line. So as preppers, we make security efforts and some training and different things, and we do things on our part to help avoid those situations if they ever arise, or to protect ourselves from those situations if they ever arise. I don't mind putting myself out there, because the way I looked at it is I'm on a prepper journey myself. I don't have hordes and hordes of items and food stashes. I'm learning new skills. You see behind me and all throughout the whole deck here, I've been really learning gardening, and I've been becoming very successful with it to this point, thankfully, and learning a lot of new skills and things. And I figured if I share my journey with other people that haven't started their journey, they're going to realize, oh wow, he's just like me. He can do it, I can do it. I see that he's not so far down the path and so far down the road, there's no way I could ever get there. Let's just jump in line, let's follow what he's doing, and maybe develop some of those practices for us and our family. Even at the very minimum, if people just get a backup to everything they own, whether it's medicines, cleaning supplies, personal hygiene, food items, get in the habit of getting a backup of everything you own. Does that cause the problem? Will that cause all the stores in America to have their shelves cleared if everybody got a backup to everything they own? No. It would help for that last minute hoard mentality, panic buying, shopping, if everybody wasn't into a mode where, hey, I don't have to panic. This little storm or this little small emergency that came, this little event, which I got this for Father's Day, by the way. My family got this for me. I thought that was really cool, so I wanted to wear it on my very next video. And just a real quick rabbit trail, you know how I am, I love rabbit trails. With it being Father's Day, doesn't care if you're a father, mother, who you are, look to pass on your information and teach other people. With my children being in town for the summer, I've been able to spend some time teaching them different things, different skills in life, and showing them things that I do, letting them have a little bit of hands-on. Even this, before I've started thinking about this video, replanting some different plants and things, and showing them this is how you do it, and then because it's all skills and it's things that you do, which also lets me think preppers like to do things like gardens and livestock and butchering their own cows and going to a processor and having their own meat processed. Look, having a garden and getting your own vegetables, you're not clearing the shelves at the store by being a prepper. You're actually taking some relief off the stores because you just produced your own garden. That's less items that you're going to the store to buy. So being a prepper is more than just getting flats of cans and just stacking them up in every single room of your house. And look, I've got nothing but cans prepped up, and this is stuff that I've did my part to eliminate everything from the shelves of America. That's not what it's about. It's also producing food, becoming more self-reliant. And it's about freedom. It's about being self-reliant so you don't have to always be dependent on everybody else. Well, that's all I got, guys. I just wanted to take a few minutes. Look, if you don't mind, if sometimes people forget it and that want to do it, or if you're considering do it, hit the thumbs up button. I really appreciate it. Some folks never hit thumbs up button on any videos. It doesn't cost you anything. It just takes a second. If you don't mind, it just helps kind of keeps my my channel and my videos keeps them active. Drop in the comments and say hey, and let me know what you think about this topic that we're discussing. Maybe you have some other ideas, some other illustrations where you were thankful that you were a prepper as well. I'm going to get up and turn the camera off. I appreciate you guys. You'll have a great rest of the day.